Hi YouTube fans, how's it going? Okay, so we're not down here low because we're whispering, but actually because my new part is kind of hard to see. You can see right there really what's going on. I have taken the plastic cocking handle rod, whatever you want to call it, no matter what, it sounds bad. But the plastic piece right here, I've replaced it with an aluminum piece. But, you know, I didn't just want to replace it with any old aluminum. I decided to replace it with blue anodized aluminum. Why? I don't know. Look, I mean, the thing about it is this is a black gun. It's completely black. I just felt like the gun needed just a slight touch of color. I mean, it's got this up here. It's got... The internals are red, if you can remember. I don't know if you can't even see it in that little tiny hole, but there's a little bit of red in there. And now even the spring on the back is blue. I mean, it just needs something on the outside to be colorful. So I decided to replace it with this. The red aluminum cocking handle, or I mean the blue aluminum, and you can get them in red if you gotta find them in the right places. You can find them on eBay, these prices. Just adds that little bit of extra flair, plus again another plastic part gone and replaced with aluminum. Outside of that, what do I have to say about it? Not the biggest fan. I mean, I waited 2 weeks to get it, and it is probably the hardest part to install. And why? Because it requires taking apart the entire gun. And what happens when you take apart the entire gun? Well, there's springs and little things everywhere. Not to mention I have to take all of this stuff off. I have to take the handles and the stocks and the grips and unscrew all this stuff. And actually the worst part is this shroud. That does not like to come off or go back on, more importantly. I couldn't get it in to screw it the 50 degrees that it needs to go in, so I decided to take the whole thing apart. It took 5 or 6 attempts to get this thing back together. Put it in with the adapter already in the casing, pushed in, and it still just didn't want to go together. I mean, I had to just rack these screws, and I, you know, came really close to stripping them, so then I'd have been in a lot of trouble. And then what happens after I've got this thing all back together? I go to cock it, and it's just a beast. Why? Well, it's a new part. I mean, think about it. This is plastic. You know, you've been cocking it the entire time. I've had it 8 years. That's 8 years worth of pulling that sucker back. You know, it just sort of works its way in. This thing is now brand new. It's full size. It may not be exactly the right size. And my assumption is this little knob right here, which is what actually, you know, pushes your hammer and everything back, is actually still too big. So it took a couple of times, you know, just back and forth, wore it down, I guess, and it's now I can cock it, but it seems just a little bit harder to do than that. Granted, this is, you know, you only ever have to do that once, you know, when you're playing. You just cock it once, and then you just, you know, it stays cocked the entire game until you're out of gas, and then you just cock it again. And it's not impossible. It's just takes a bit of a man's pull to go. The other thing about it is now that I've got it on there, it feels like the little thing right here is come loose. And there is a screw inside there that you gotta tighten down. And I think I remember before I did this reading, someone said put Loctite in there so that you don't have this problem. Now that I remember that, uh-oh. Because now I have to take the entire thing apart again and tighten that screw, putting the little Loctite in there, and yeah, I mean, some part of me wants to go, let's just wait until it actually comes out. You know, that seems the easiest to me. The next thing though, while we're at it, and I can't actually show you this, but this isn't the only part that I've added. I have actually added an aluminum piston rod in the Cyclone. Just like the cocking rod and the internals and everything like that, I just decided, hey, let's upgrade a plastic piece with an aluminum piece. you know, you're gonna get stronger. It's, you know, maybe works a little smoother, something like that, right? Right? Well, just like the cocking handle, it was not fun to put in. First of all, I've never disassembled my Cyclone. All the internals inside there are still plastic. I haven't even gotten squishy paddles yet. I don't need them, but you know, still haven't. This is all still stock. The piston, when I finally got it out, well, here's the embarrassing thing. This thing's also red anodized aluminum, just like the internals of this thing. It's not blue, it's red, but I thought to myself, oh yay, another touch of color. What I didn't think was that it actually is an internal part. I actually thought it was this piece right here, the little cocking lever that we push on. I thought it was going to be sticking out of the gun, which this too is also plastic, so another thing I want to replace. Turns out they don't make any kind of upgrade to that I know of. But the part is actually not this. This piece pushes on that part, pushing the ratchet forward. I'd love to show you that piece. I mean, I've got some pictures I can pop up here and let you see it, but realistically there's nothing to see. It's just a red shaft. The downside was when I got it, I put it in the gun, I fired, and it didn't cycle. Right off the bat when I put it in, I noticed that it was considerably smaller than the original part, which I still have actually. You can see right here what it looks like. It looks like a little tiny plunger for your toilet. See? Let's get it here in the in focus and in the white there. And all it is, it's just there's an O-ring on here, and this plastic shaft, and then there's this little hole right here where you hook that into the ratchet and it pushes it forward like that. The good thing about the aluminum piece is it has a little bit of a brass ring in there, and that gives you, you know, a smoother rotation on it. But realistically, you know, you're just not going to notice a difference unless you're running like really high-end 25 balls a second because you upgraded the board in your e-grip. And then, by the way, having e-grip issues again. We won't get into that today. But anyways, I got it in there, and I didn't understand why it wasn't cycling. So then I looked at it and realized it has this really strange O-ring, and you can't really get in there. Let me just focus that in so you can really maybe see it. It's got this O-ring that's almost like an umbrella. You see how it's got this sort of winged groove right there? It's actually hollow, not like a typical donut-shaped O-ring. And what that does is air pushes on that like an upside-down umbrella. You know, it catches the air in and it pushes the rod forward. And then because of that, the air can go back over this way easier, so you can, you know, when it releases the gas. Now, the thing about it is when I got the aluminum part inside the gun, it was actually backwards, which made sense because it made this thing look really like a sphere. It looked like, you know, so whoever assembled it just assumed, oh, that's the way it's supposed to go, but it wasn't. I took it off, and while trying to flip it around, assuming that was the problem, I actually kind of took some chunks out of it, because the only way I could get it off was stick little metal sharp objects in there and peel it out. So I ordered some new O-rings, and here's another warning for you people if you're considering getting this. The O-rings that go on this guy, right here, these little guys, they are not the ones that came on the aluminum piece. It's actually like the little ring on the inside is smaller on this guy than it is on that shaft. So when I put them on, it stretched the O-rings out and they really got big, and then I couldn't even get it in the piston anymore. So yeah, I then decided, after waiting, you know, a week for these guys to arrive, which I now have extras that I can't use. Well, I still have this piece in case, you know, if anything breaks. But once I got the pieces and found out that I can't use it, I just said, you know what, even with the little chunk I took out of it, let's just try it, you know, let's see, you know, what's going on. So I used it, flipped around the O-ring like it was supposed to be, put it back in there, and even with the chunk taken out of it, or the little crack in it that I saw, whatever it was, the gun is cycling just fine now. So for the most part, we'll just leave it alone until it does break, because this thing is the most unfun thing to take apart. One other thing, well, I shouldn't say that. This thing is the whole unfun thing to take apart, but this is easily second. So yeah, that's that. I will eventually, and maybe even, you know, maybe next paycheck or something like that, I don't know, get a Vortex mod, changing the entire internals with aluminum, maybe the squishy paddles. I don't know. Those get pricey at $40 and $20 for the squishy paddles. You know, $60 is not something I'm looking to spend right now. But yeah, so let that be a warning to you if you get into those aluminum parts and all that stuff. You may want to do a little bit more homework than I did. My homework was what has the cheapest price, and math was always my strong suit in school, but in this case, it did me wrong. So it's possible just getting the cheaper parts, getting from other stores, would have, you know, getting them at better prices would have done better. And most importantly, if I had known it's not this little button right here that I was getting, and it was getting an internal part, I probably wouldn't even have bought it in the first place. I mean, it was like $8 on eBay, but seriously, not. I would have not even bothered if I had just gone with, you know, the way it's been working. Worked fine, didn't need to touch it. As for the cocking rod, most likely I'm going to have to take the gun apart again right after we're done recording this video, and I'm going to see if I can't tighten that up. There's also, I can reach it if I take the cyclone off. I can get maybe a screwdriver up in there because I can see it, but I mean, who knows? We'll just have to see. So like I said, you know, it's cool that it adds a little blue color right there, but honestly, it's no improvement to the gun. It's actually a detriment, if anything, and it is a beast to put in. So don't get something like this unless you really know this gun. You've taken it apart a couple times, you understand it. Just be careful is all we have to say. I have to say, I should say, but all A5 users would have to say. And now, of course, I've got to see if the gun actually works at some point in time. Fire it again, make sure that I didn't leave something, a little ball dent didn't come out, or the you know, the little spring that keeps the tombstone latch in place. That thing was a nightmare. It pops out, and even the spring that pushes this forward was like the worst thing to keep inside the gun when I was putting the two halves together. So all of that, any one of those things might be damaged. I might have crushed the spring. I can't even get this thing fully together. There's a big gap right here, and I'm pretty sure that's actually because of the adapter for the shroud. So, you know, that's what you get when you save money. But again, look at that. I do got a blue cocking rod. I can't believe I said that. But oh well. Thank you for watching. Keep an eye out for future videos. Okay, I know you guys like bloopers and these little video tidbits, but just FYI, luckily this tiny little Allen wrench fits right in there, and I tightened down the thing, so that's thank God. I don't ever want to take this apart again. Speaking of taking it apart, check out the reassembly video where I reassemble it in high speed, because you have no idea what went into that. It was terrible. Please go watch it, like it, send it to friends, because it took me way more work than it was worth. Thanks again. See you next time.